On Christmas Eve, 1971, a 17-year-old girl boarded a plane with her mother. 90 minutes later, she was falling through a thunderstorm, still strapped to her airplane seat, with no plane left around her. She would fall almost 2 miles. She would land alive. And then she would spend the next 11 days walking through one of the most dangerous jungles on Earth, alone, injured, and slowly running out of options. This is the story of Juliane Koepcke. And of all 92 people on that flight, she was the only one who came home. Juliane grew up somewhere most kids never see, a small research station deep in the Peruvian rainforest called Panguana, founded by her parents, both zoologists. Her mother studied birds, her father studied everything else. And Juliane grew up learning, almost without noticing it, how the jungle worked. Which plants meant water was near, which sounds meant safety, which meant danger. Nobody in her family could have guessed how much that childhood was about to matter. In December 1971, she just graduated high school in Lima. She and her mother booked a flight home to the research station for the holidays, a short 1-hour hop on a small airline with a reputation problem. Her father had asked them, more than once, to fly with anyone else. It was the only ticket left for Christmas Eve. The plane climbed toward cruising altitude and flew straight into a wall of storm clouds. Passengers could see lightning flashing outside the windows. The aircraft dropped, shuddered, dropped again. Then came a flash brighter than the rest. Lightning had struck the wing. Within seconds, the wing tore away. The aircraft began breaking apart midair, spinning toward the jungle canopy 3 kilometers below. Juliane remembers the fall itself as almost silent. The roar of the engines gone, just wind, and her mother's voice beside her, quiet and certain, telling her this was the end. Then nothing. She blacked out. She woke up the next morning alone, still strapped into a row of 3 airplane seats that had somehow landed upright in the canopy, cushioned just enough by the trees to keep her alive. A concussion, a broken collarbone, a deep gash down one arm, 1 shoe missing, her glasses gone. 91 other people had been on that flight. She had fallen roughly 3 kilometers and lived. She unbuckled herself, stood up, and looked around at absolute, empty jungle in every direction. Her father had told her, years earlier, that if she was ever lost in the jungle, she should find moving water and follow it downstream. Rivers lead to people, so that's what she did. She found a small stream near the crash site and started walking through it, letting the current guide her. She had 1 bag of hard candy salvaged from the wreckage. That was her entire food supply. For the first few days, she moved slowly, calling out in case anyone else had survived. No one answered. The days blurred together. The stream grew into a river, and the walking became harder. Deeper water, slippery rocks, no clear bank to follow. Insects swarmed constantly. A wound on her arm became infected, and by the later days, fly larvae had burrowed into the cut. Something she'd later have to deal with herself, without medicine, without help. She grew weaker. Her candy ran out around day 4. She drank river water and kept moving because stopping meant giving up. At one point, exhausted, she came across a small pool with frogs sitting motionless at the edge. Hungry enough to consider eating one, she didn't have the strength to catch it, and later learned they were poison dart frogs. The one thing that might have killed her was the one thing she was too tired to reach. On day 10, the riverbank finally led somewhere, a small hut with a boat pulled up beside it. Nobody was home. She was too weak and too honest to simply take the boat and leave, so she waited. The next day, the loggers who used the camp returned and found her, barely able to stand, injured, alone, telling them in Spanish that she'd survived a plane crash 11 days earlier. They didn't fully believe her at first, but they treated her wounds as best they could, and the following morning took her by boat to the nearest town with a hospital. At the hospital, reunited with her father, Juliane learned the fate of the other passengers. Investigators eventually found that as many as 14 people, including her own mother, had actually survived the initial fall, but died in the days afterward, waiting for a rescue that never reached them in time. Juliane was the only one who moved, the only one who kept walking. She later helped search teams locate the crash site and identify the victims, including, eventually, her mother.
Juliane went on to study biology, like her parents before her, and eventually returned to Peru to run the very research station she'd grown up in, Panguana, dedicating her life to protecting the same rainforest that had almost killed her. She said, decades later, that the nightmares never fully went away. Neither did the question of why she was the one who survived. But there's a detail worth sitting with. The thing that saved her wasn't luck alone. It was a childhood spent learning to read, a dangerous place, knowledge her parents gave her without ever imagining she'd need it to survive them. If you want the next survival story, a sailing crew stranded for 76 days in open ocean, it's coming next. Subscribe so you don't miss it.